Story 1. My girlfriend has a gift, and I'm terrified. Okay, this sounds insane, but I don't know anymore. I, 27 male, have known my girlfriend, 24, for around 7 years, and she's always been a bit odd. Not in a bad way, but she's very empathetic and too kind for her own good. She also has chronic depression/anxiety and bipolar disorder. A few months into us dating, she would do this thing where she would text me to hydrate, eat, stretch, relax my muscles. I didn't think much of it, honestly, like those are very common things people forget to do. Then she got more specific, example being, hey, pop your left shoulder or it'll start to hurt later tonight. Or she would buy me food I was craving without me asking, or send me reassurance when I was feeling low. Even those, however, I was able to brush off with ease, like what nearly 30-year-old doesn't have aches and pains, you know? It was like that for months, and occasionally I'd ask her how she knew I hadn't hydrated all day, or how she knew I wanted one of my cravings, to which she would always respond with, "It's a gift. Cool, huh?" I figured she was bluffing and kept getting lucky. Now I don't think that's the case. Last week, she called off work and rushed over. I asked her why she felt the need to do that, and she said she felt compelled. An hour later, we got the news a family member I was close to passed. Here, I have to note, she is close with my parents, but they don't talk outside of family gatherings, so there's no way she would have known prior to the call. She stayed by my side the rest of the week and confided in me that she was a different religion than I am. She's a Hellenistic pagan and I'm a Baptist, and that she got the urge to call off work when she was cleaning up her altar. I was a bit shaken up, but ultimately I was just glad she was there with me. This weekend, we went to visit her dad. She suggested it's because he lives outside of a tourist trap town and we could use the vacation. I agreed, and it was a fantastic trip. On the ride there, she confessed she doesn't like my job because it's dangerous. It wouldn't be, and I don't think it is at any of the other shops, but we simply don't have the equipment to do what we claim we can, so we have to jerry-rig quite a bit. I explained this to her, and she just reiterates she wants me to be careful. I promised I would be, and she dropped it. I tried my best to not tell her about how sketchy it gets sometimes, or that we actually had a workplace incident recently, but the way she talked, it felt like she knew. Throughout the drive from her dad's to the town, the drive was anxiety-inducing. We were talking about heavy rain plus bad drivers, and my car was acting up, yet my very usually anxious girlfriend with car wreck trauma was unfazed. When I inquired about it at dinner, she said she knew we wouldn't wreck it. I asked how she could possibly know that, and she said, I have a gift, and I should just trust her on this. It was hard, but I did my best. When I was dropping her off, she warned me to be on the lookout for deer and to drive safely. Two somewhat normal statements given where we live, but I didn't think it meant, hey, there's gonna be a deer in the middle of the road, so don't hit it. It was just the icing on the cake, and I still don't get this gift. The next morning, she's gushing about how much she liked our weekend and how much she loved spending time with me, how we need to do it again, blah, blah, blah. She then mentions how I need to be careful on the drive there. Lo and behold, there was a wreck on my commute. I got to witness it. At lunch, she asks if I'm okay, which, I kind of had just gotten a cut on my arm. I'm a mechanic, so it's common. I asked her if she could stop being so weird and to just chill because life is being weird and I'm not feeling it. She said, okay, but how do you think I feel? I'm just stuck like this. I apologized, and she agreed she would chill, and told me she didn't mean to scare me, but now I'm super weirded out by her. Alright, I'm not going to say that this is what's happening, but a lot of times with people like this who predict things, you don't realize just how much they're predicting, and you're only remembering the times when they happen to be right. And your brain is just erasing all the times that they're wrong because that's not remarkable. That's just nothing. And so your brain, crumple, toss it away, whatever. But every time they're right, now that, your brain's like, wow, how did they get that right? So you hang on to that stuff. And that is a possibility. It sounds like she's getting a lot of very weirdly specific stuff right. So that is, quite a bit, but, I don't know, I'm still not 100% convinced, and if everything she's doing with it seems to be in order to help you, if she does have a gift, and who am I to say that she doesn't, but if she does, it seems to be good, so, I mean, count yourself lucky? Story 2. Micromanaging my lunch break? Enjoy the extra paperwork. Hey folks, I have a story of malicious compliance that I think you'll appreciate. This happened at my previous job where my manager was the definition of a micromanager. At this job, we had an hour for lunch, but the break room was small, so people usually staggered their lunch breaks. It was an unspoken rule that as long as you didn't take more than an hour and your work didn't suffer, no one really cared when you took your lunch. That was until our new manager, let's call him Dave, stepped in. Dave decided that he needed to control when everyone took their lunch breaks. He created a strict schedule assigning each person a specific lunch hour. My assigned time was right in the middle of my most productive part of the day, which was super frustrating. I decided to follow the new lunch schedule, but I also decided to take full advantage of my rights as an employee. You see, our company policy stated that any work done during our lunch break was considered overtime and needed to be compensated. So I started to accidentally schedule meetings, calls, and tasks during my lunch break, making sure to meticulously document every minute of work I did. Then, at the end of the week, I'd submit a detailed overtime report to Dave showing him all the extra work I did during my lunch hour. Dave was furious, but he couldn't deny my overtime requests without violating company policy. After a few weeks of paying me extra for work that I would have gladly done during my regular hours, Dave scrapped his strict lunch break schedule and let us go back to our old system. So I try and take all these stories at face value and not just call them out as like, nah, that sounds fake, because I could do that with a ton of stories from this site. Come on, seriously. But I try and take them at face value and take them seriously because that's what we do. But this one does feel like, I did this thing with the lunch, and instead of the boss being like, nope, stop doing it then, stop scheduling stuff then, or whatever, he just got rid of a whole system that was affecting everyone. But maybe he did. I don't know. Because there are bosses like this. Bosses who they come in someplace that they're new to, and they see the way things are done, and everything's working fine, and they're like, nope, this isn't my way's better, just watch, and proceed to just screw things up. If everything was fine with people taking lunches when they want, why do you need that control? I'll tell you why, Dave, and every manager like Dave. It's because you have no self-confidence, and it's the one little bit of control that you can get in your life. Yeah, your partner doesn't like you very much. Your kids don't listen to you because you're just a big old blowhard. Your neighbors think that you're just this pathetic nothing. But here in the workplace, I can control when people go to their lunches, and that makes me a powerful person. No, it doesn't. Story 3. Quit my job at an upscale steakhouse, but not before making sure all the customers knew what a prick the owner was. This was happening back in 2009, but I shared it in a comment on another sub yesterday and figured it belongs here too. I was waiting tables at an upscale steakhouse, and the company culture was absolute garbage. The owner, Gary, was constantly throwing tantrums and screaming at everyone, and we all hated him. He'd line us up all before every shift just to berate us and yell how lucky we were that he hired us, because we were all crap at our jobs and no one else would ever have us. Stuff like that. The only reason anyone ever stuck around was because the money was good due to the high ticket prices and solid customer base, as well as the fact that there weren't many other employment options for fine dining service in the area. In addition to being a massive prick, Gary was also a cheap bastard. There was this 6-foot-tall desert cooler in the kitchen that had a broken door, and he put off fixing it for months because he didn't want to spend the money. So it was just sort of hanging on its hinge, and you had to be really careful opening it. Inevitably, during the height of a Saturday night rush, it fell completely off and hit one of the servers hard. So she's laying there on the kitchen floor, bleeding from a serious-looking wound on her head, and Gary is standing over her and screaming down at her, "Way to go! Just brilliant! What the F am I supposed to do now? It's the middle of the rush, you've got a full section, and no one's going to be able to pick up your goddamn tables because everyone who works here is useless and incompetent. You should have been more careful!" I'd seen a lot of his crap, but this was the hard line, and I made a decision right then that I was out. So when I got home that night, I typed up a letter to Gary telling him exactly why I was quitting and leaving no detail out when it came to his tantrums, his verbal abuse, and the hazards in the workplace that he wouldn't address. I printed out 30 copies, went in early for my opening shift the following day, mid-afternoon, the place was only open for dinner, and hid them all over the restaurant where guests would find them, in the menus, under the napkins, on the tables, in between paper towels in the restrooms, etc. Some were in really obscure places so that they wouldn't be found right away and would keep popping up randomly. Surprise! Allowing me my legacy to live on. Then, instead of working my shift, I left before the pre-shift lineup. Fast forward to a couple days later when a co-worker reached out and shared with me the beautiful details of Gary's head almost exploding with rage when he found out about the letters. A couple tables read them and walked out before ordering. People in the dining room could hear him screaming from the kitchen. Apparently, they were still finding letters weeks later, and every time one surfaced, the vein in Gary's forehead would pop out and he'd disappear into his office and slam the door. It remains one of my proudest moments, and my only regret is that I couldn't be a fly on the wall watching this all unfold. Managers and owners who get furious like that and constantly are berating all of their employees for being bad at their job, you will never work in a place where every employee who is being paid a good amount like these folks were, where they are bad at their job. If things aren't going well, it's probably the fault of the person who's managing them. Oh, it's almost like all of this is Gary's fault. Yeah, maybe the workers are slacking here and there a little bit, but if they're being paid fairly well, enough that they're willing to put up with crap treatment just to make that kind of money, I guarantee that they would be doing a great job with someone who knew what the hell they were doing when they were managing. And Gary, you don't. You're a bad manager and kind of a bad person. Maybe reflect inward a little bit and do better. Story 4. Entitled Mom Thinks Family Bathroom is Only for Her and Baby. Yesterday, I, 37 female, got off a plane in the US and rushed to the airport bathroom. I have colitis and am prone to diarrhea/incontinence. I had a small accident while deplaning, but was trying to hold the rest until I got to the bathroom. Not the first time this has happened, and I carry clean cloths and wipes with me whenever I travel. Anyway, I noticed a long line at the women's bathroom and saw that the family care bathroom was vacant, and no one was around looking to use it, so I stepped inside. I hear screaming behind me, but ignore it because it's a busy airport and thought nothing of it. As I'm closing the door behind me, a woman carrying a baby literally puts her hand/body between the door and opens the door, and the following interaction occurs. Angry entitled mom, "Excuse me, this is a family restroom. This is not for you." Me, trying to hold in the rest of my crap, "Sorry, you'll have to wait. We need to use this bathroom." "Not that this is any of your business, but I have a disability." "What disability?" She's still preventing me from closing the door with her body and hands, while holding a baby, mind you, and literally would not let go, still screaming, "What disability?" She still held on. I overpowered her and pushed her back with the door, then pulled the door closed and locked it. F her and her effing baby. You don't have a monopoly on family restrooms, which need a completely different title altogether in my opinion, and you don't get to harass a literal cancer patient because you chose to reproduce. I hope she and her baby crap their pants like I did. Don't ask people what disability. What a gross thing. Like, I'm sorry, and don't assume things about people. If someone's going into that bathroom and they're like, "I need to use this," they got there first. Just deal with it. It's your baby, whatever. There's changing stations and other things. I don't know. Like, this person had an emergency. They are dealing with stuff that we can't imagine. So at most you could say like, "I'm sorry, it's a family bathroom. Could I use it?" And when they go, "I'm sorry, I really need to. I have a disability." That's kind of the moment when you go, "Of course, I'm sorry." Like, just step back. Just take the L, entitled mom. You do not get to decide everything. I don't know. I'm so tired of entitled people, and I'm just tired. People, just be nicer to each other. Could we do that? Could you just all be nicer? I mean, I know the people watching this will be nicer. You folks are awesome. Just tell everyone else. Story 5. My 22 female girlfriend is disappointed with my size 25 male after we met. We are in a long-distance relationship. We met up in October, and when we were together, we were about to have intercourse, but didn't bring a condom with me, so we ended up not doing it. Please, I know, I should have prepared. The problem I have is what happened after we met. I had shown her my size before we met many times, and after we met, we didn't talk about intercourse at all anymore, so I wondered what caused her disappointment. We always showered together, and she even tried to put it in. When I called her about it today why we don't do that anymore, I asked if she was disappointed with my size, and she said yes. Okay, hurted, but I continued to ask more. She told me she wasn't a traditional girl, but now she says she wants to wait for intercourse until after marriage. I know she is Christian, but said she doesn't respect her religion before we met, and also I see her liking things like funny men really have the biggest D's on Instagram, and also like acts innocent but is thinking about writing the F out of you. After asking more, she said she doesn't want to talk about it at all anymore. She does want to meet me again, but I'm not sure if I should. She says she loves me, but so many red flags. There's a lot going on. I mean, on one hand, she is allowed to change her mind on her religion and decide if she wants to wait or not. People's minds will change as they do stuff, and that's fine. Even if you were having intercourse and then she said, no, I want to stop until marriage for my religion, I'm not comfortable, that's okay. But that's kind of where I'm not really, I don't know. Judging someone for their size, there's stuff that I think, people who, are below average in size and stuff can still do to have an enjoyable intercourse life. But it takes, communication with a partner and stuff like that. I'm sure there's stuff online to help with that kind of stuff, but I don't know, the fact that she's also like, yeah, your size is a problem, that's not great and healthy, and I don't, if you've asked her before and you're sharing pictures, I don't know. I don't feel great that she's doing that, and I would say, if she says she loves you, do feel free to meet again, but, I mean, start a conversation, and if she's like, nope, I don't want to talk about it anymore, that's a red flag. That's not great. Relationships need communication, and if there is a problem with your intimate compatibility, she can't just say, no, I don't want to talk about it anymore. No, something needs to get talked about eventually, so yeah, if she refuses to keep talking, then I would probably refuse to keep seeing her. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.